Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 5th episode of the Juke. I am Dr. Jen Welter, and with me, as always, is the one, the only, Mitch Mullaney. But wait, because it's number 5, okay? First of all, if you haven't subscribed yet, you need to hit up all our social, which is at the Juke Pod. But it's the 5th. And we, in honor of the 5th, Mitch, I decided that we needed one of very best in the business, the one whose hot takes will take your breath away, the bombshell who drops bombs, the one, the only. I need more joy in my life. Can we introduce Joy Taylor?
Hi, Jen. I miss you. I love your enthusiasm. I wish I could bottle up half your energy. It'd be so much better than Red Bull or coffee. You are amazing.
You totally can, Joy. We can talk about that. But I was having so much fun writing the hot takes that will take your breath away and the bombshell who drops knowledge bombs.
I like it. It's bars.
Yeah, bars and bars. You inspire it. You inspire me. Always do.
Thank you, babe. Well, it's good to be here, and it's good to be here with you also, Mitch. It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I just want you to know, so we're all comfortable here before we start, that I watch you and Colin while I'm eating dinner almost every day.
Oh, that's so nice. You and my mom.
We go.
My mom records. My mom records the show and watches it back, later in the day also. Well, thank you very much.
All right, let's get started. So let's start it off with the recent news of Sam Darnold being traded to the Carolina Panthers. 2nd-round pick involved next year, a couple other minor 4th-round pick, 6th-round pick this year as well. Carolina, I first want to know, is this actually an upgrade from Teddy Bridgewater? Because that's the first thing that came to mind. Is he better than Teddy Bridgewater?
I don't know, but he's younger than Teddy Bridgewater. He is probably has a bigger ceiling than Teddy Bridgewater. So in that situation, I think it's a good move. I like Teddy a lot, but I think at this point in his career, Teddy is a bridge quarterback. He's a very high level backup quarterback. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can have a very long career in the NFL doing that. I don't think he's a high level starting quarterback, and their record last year certainly reflects that. So it's not a knock on Teddy, who I think, is very respected and, beloved around the league. Sam Darnold is just young, and he has a lot of potential. So to me, I think it was a really good move for Carolina. If at the very least makes them interesting, which they were not last year. So, I don't know that every move makes you a Super Bowl contender, but you got to remember this is a business too, and you got to stay relevant. And in that division, they got to do better than they did last year. I also think that Sam Darnold, he's got to have a space away from Adam Gase. That was a terrible situation. I never understood it because obviously, I'm a Dolphins fan. So when he was hired there, I was like, okay, I don't know. Good luck with that. I mean, I don't root against anybody, but just, I didn't see how that was going to work. And obviously it didn't work, but that's kind of an understatement. It was a disaster. So I don't know that he's better than Teddy Bridgewater right now, but he has more potential. He makes them interesting. And Teddy is, kind of expensive for someone who isn't really making waves in Carolina.
I agree. And I think, Sam Darnold needed a fresh start. If he's going to be anything, he wasn't going to be anything there. There's too much baggage. It's too hard to change the culture of an organization without really changing things, right? If he was a domino there, that everything centered around, and he was just amazing, maybe you build around him. But there's just too much bad blood. It's bad juju. Saleh needs a clean slate, and in this way, he's really committing to having a young quarterback that he can build around. And oh, by the way, he's going to have money to spend because he's saving it on the quarterback position. So they're kind of making that long-term play. Like, this is an organization that really needs a refresh and a reset. And I think you had to get rid of Sam to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, from the Jets' perspective, it makes all the sense in the world. I know a lot of people kind of feel like maybe or that like, to the original question, is he better than Teddy Bridgewater? I think he has more potential than Teddy Bridgewater. Is he better right now? I don't know. But from the Jets' perspective, I don't really see they had a choice. Now, if they weren't picking second overall in the draft, then they probably would have stuck with Sam Darnold. But there's no point in playing that what if game because they are picking second in the draft, and this is a heavy quarterback draft. So if you stick with Sam Darnold, you have to pay him. And they want to give, to your point, Robert Saleh a clean slate, which I think he deserves. And I think they were kind of split in the front office about whether to keep Sam Darnold or not. But at the end of the day, it comes down to money. Like, you don't have to pay Zach Wilson anything. And you're going to give Robert Saleh the guy that he wants. We're assuming, obviously, they're taking Zach Wilson. And that seems to be the consensus that's what's happening. So, and then there was the conversation, is Zach Wilson better than Sam Darnold? I don't know who's better than who right now. And I don't think anyone can assess that. But we do know that Sam Darnold is not a rookie. So if they do keep him, they're going to have to pay him very soon. And if he turns out he's not that great, and they use that second overall pick on someone else in a very diminished quarterback draft next year, that's a bad situation. So I think for both parties involved, it was the right decision.
I will say this. I think the Jets have a board in wherever it is, but they decided that Wilson was better than Darnold, because I don't think they make this move if they don't feel Wilson is better than Darnold. So they must have compared Darnold to the draft class and said, this is the best way to go. This is where the potential's at. In terms of Darnold. Well,
I think it's potential, because whether Sam Darnold is better than Zach Wilson or not right now, like, Zach Wilson might not come in and be, just Herbert or Patrick Mahomes in his second year. So he might not be better than Sam Darnold right now. But if they're equal, you have Sam Darnold for much cheaper for a few more years than you have Sam Darnold. As most things in life, it comes down to money. And that's what I think it was, more so than is Zach Wilson better right now than Sam Darnold. He's a BYU quarterback. I don't know how anyone can actually evaluate that. Right. We don't know what any of these guys are going to be when they get to the NFL, but the potential matched with the money, I think, is what was the ultimate decision maker for them.
Yeah. And they're not looking to have to win this year, right? And nobody expects the Jets to win the Super Bowl this year, right? So trying to hold on to a quarterback who may or may not have another good year, and you may have, and you're going to have to pay him, as opposed to taking somebody right now who you think you can build around and really has that upside to give you a fresh start. Like, to me, it's really clear for the Jets. It's an easy decision. You needed that money to hopefully protect him and put some of the other, things in place too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think all of us believe that this is a win-win for both. In terms of Sam Darnold going to Carolina, I like the fit in the offense. I think he's going to be better there, as we suggested. Better weapons, better coaching. I'm not sure about the offensive line, but still some upside with him. And obviously, we believe the Jets should move forward. How does this affect the rest of the draft and the quarterbacks that are going to be taken? We know the Niners traded up. There's maybe the Broncos, the Patriots looking for a quarterback. How do you believe it impacts the rest of the top 10 or the rest of the draft?
Well, I think the San Francisco trade changed a lot of things. And now Atlanta is in a very interesting position with the 4th pick. So we know the first 3 picks are going to be quarterbacks. Otherwise, San Francisco wouldn't have gone through all that trouble to move up to number 3. I don't believe that San Francisco is taking Mac Jones. I don't get it with Mac Jones, to be honest with you. I'm not like I said, I'm not rooting against anybody. I just don't see it. And I don't understand how Justin Fields all of a sudden got slotted, not only under Mac Jones, but also under Zach Wilson, because Justin Fields was certainly playing against much tougher competition and performing at a higher level all season long and the year before. So how that happened in the time that the season ended until now, who knows? But it seems that the Jets like Zach Wilson more, so he's going to go 2. I think Justin Fields is going to go 3 to San Francisco. So it's going to be Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Justin Fields. So that leaves obviously Atlanta at number 4, who there was a report that came out today that the GM is interested in taking a quarterback. I think that's a massive mistake, but I think they should trade out of that spot with someone like Denver or the Patriots. That's a far kind of slide for the Patriots to go up that far for the 4th best quarterback in the draft. But for Denver, I feel like that's a move you kind of have to make. Like, they haven't had a franchise quarterback in a while, and you're in a very, very tough division. Patriots are in a different situation. I think Cam Newton's going to be better in his second year with the team. And I think, if Mac Jones doesn't go, it's in that 4th slot, I think he could fall, because there's a lot of teams in that space that don't need quarterbacks. And there's a lot of high level talent at other positions, receivers, Kyle Pitts, offensive linemen, that are going to go in that space. So to me right now, Atlanta is the key in the top 10 in the draft, because we know the Lions got their guy. Obviously Carolina has their guy now. The Dolphins are sticking with Tua. So you have Denver and, I forget who's picking 10th. Cowboys. They're obviously not taking a quarterback. So, it's really going to be interesting what happens with Atlanta in the next couple of weeks, if they trade out of that spot or not, or maybe they wait until the draft and see who's taken there. If San Francisco does take Mac Jones, is somebody willing to move up and give them a haul for Justin Fields? So there's a lot that can happen in the next couple of weeks, but I think, my opinion, it's going to be Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields. Atlanta is the key there. What they ended up doing will decide whether that's a quarterback or that's going somewhere else, or if Atlanta ends up taking a quarterback, which I don't think that they need. And then Cincinnati's going to take an offensive lineman, as they should, and they'll go on from there. But because Miami's going to take a skill position player, Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase. What I think is interesting with Atlanta is, I don't think you can take a quarterback at that position at 4 unless it's Trey Lance. Because if you take someone like Justin Fields or even Mac Jones, Atlanta is the kind of place where, look, like, this is an entertainment city. Like, they want some action. And if Matt Ryan is out there not getting it done, which I don't think he's the problem for that team, but if that happens, if at the number 4 pick, you kind of got to be ready to play. And they have to pay Matt Ryan for 2 more years, an exorbitant amount of money. So, like, the type of money that another team is not going to take on. So I don't know how that helps them to take somebody at the number 4 position that's not going to play for 2 years. It's a long time to use on the number 4 pick. If you take somebody in the 2nd round, even late in the 1st or 3rd, there's not going to be a banging on the table to get him out there. You can let him sit and develop. At number 4, I don't think you can do that.
I think that's you are spot on with Atlanta, having coached in Atlanta. And we had a fan-driven controversy over our quarterbacks in Atlanta that we ended up pretty much having to play the other one because they were booing our quarterback situation. So I still have nightmares. You just brought them back up like, oh, so visual. And that was the Legends, right? Imagine how they're going to be with the Falcons. And I agree. It's not a Matty Ice problem. Their offense is high powered. They're putting up plenty. Their defense was the problem last year. They falked up many games last year. I mean, it was and ones that shouldn't have been won, the percentages of win were like in the 90s and they still lost them. Like, that's just atrocious to me. So a quarterback's not their problem or their answer. But I do agree that the Broncos need to do something. Mitch and I talked about this last week. I'm like, yeah, you can make all the moves you want, but if you don't have a quarterback, I don't know what you think you're doing. And where do you get that from? I mean, there aren't many options. What, they go for Teddy?
Here's the counterpoint with Atlanta before we get to Denver is that they're at number 4. Like, when's the next time they're going to get to number 4? Because with Matt Ryan, I don't know how many times the next 2-3 years you're going to be this bad, especially with an upgraded coach, in my opinion, on both sides of the football with Arthur Smith and Dean Pease. So they're going to be better this year. I don't see them actually getting back to number 4. They're going to have to put more assets to get that quarterback. So maybe he sits. If it's Trey Lance, maybe they sit. So I think it's really an interesting situation with Atlanta, because I think they could win now if they pick a player that can help them. But at the same time, when are you going to get that quarterback?
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's kind of my why I'm like, are we gonna stick with Tua?
Right.
We're
Yeah,
not gonna have a top 10 pick again. And I didn't see anything spectacular from him last year. Dolphins fans are super mad at me about that, but it's the same mentality. What I would say the difference is Matt Ryan was a league MVP and played in a Super Bowl, and he is, top 10 statistically still, and very capable and extremely expensive, like really expensive. Whereas someone like Tua is not. So, I hear you, but like 2 years, if Matt is done next year, okay, then you can take somebody 4th overall. But 2 years, and who knows, like maybe they keep him after that. It depends on how he plays. Like I think Matt Ryan has a good 5 years left. So, Matt Ryan is not the problem, to Jen's point, not the problem in Atlanta at all. The problem is on the defensive side. You could trade out of that position at number 4 and get a bunch of picks, because there are teams that are desperate to be picking at number 4, and you can reload, which is what you need to do. So I think it's more of a relevance move to take a quarterback at number 4 than it is a position of need. And like I said, nobody's taking on that contract. So regardless of what you want to do, you're going to pay Matt Ryan for the next 2 years a lot of money, because that's what you gave him. And like, that's what he earned, but you're going to pay him that. And the Atlanta Falcons, are going to pay him that. Nobody else is taking on that contract. So I hear you, but like, I think that's kind of the risk you got to take if you're Atlanta.
Teddy Bridgewater to Denver. Could that happen? Sorry, Jen, but
no, that's okay. I kind of teased
I
that
know you were alluding
before.
to that, so I wanted to get to that. Teddy Bridgewater to Denver, I think, is a place where it would work, because it's a defensive team with Vic Fangio, and they just added to their secondary, and he's kind of a game manager. I know we hate that word, but that's kind of what he is.
I don't know. He doesn't throw the ball down the field. That's a windy place to play. Right. I definitely think he's better than Drew Lock. I mean, it's not saying much, but he is definitely obviously better than Drew Lock. It could work. I could also see him in Washington. I actually think Washington would be a better fit for him. They have some really strong weapons there. Their defense is great. So, I mean, they won the division last year. The division's not going to be the same this year. I know everyone's like, oh, NFC East. Like, the NFC East was a disaster last year. Dak is back. The Cowboys are going to be better. Daniel Jones, another year in the system. They're getting Saquon back. The Giants signed a bunch of pieces in free agency. They're going to be better. Washington's running that defense back. They have weapons offensively. If they can figure out a viable option at quarterback, I mean, what's the difference between Teddy Bridgewater and Alex Smith at this point? And Alex Smith was good until he got injured. Sure. Yeah. I mean, he's more reliable physically. So
Alex Smith, it looks like he's going to be on IR every time he gets hit.
But when he was out there, he was good. Like he had a good record when he was out there. So now you have to be out there, but that's why they let him go. Yeah. So I'm saying, like, if you're I think Washington is actually a better situation. Denver, to me, really needs to commit to trying drafting somebody and developing them. Clearly, Washington is not, like, I thought Sam Darnold would have been a good option for Washington. They didn't seem interested. So Teddy Bridgewater to Washington makes more sense to me.
I do want to throw out one situation where I feel like maybe this could happen. Russell Wilson, all talk about how he might be traded this place, that place. Pete Carroll loves quarterbacks like this because he is a defensive coach. And I feel like he would be kind of interested in having this Teddy Bridgewater insurance, or maybe even motivation in a Jordan Love, Jimmy Garoppolo type of way. Would Seattle be interested in signing Bridgewater if he were to be released?
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about that. I actually agree with you, but I think he's probably too expensive. So I want to say he's owed like $17 million or something this year. So he's a little expensive on top of Russell's very expensive contract. That's a lot of money to be tied up in quarterbacks. So while I do think if they can figure out his contract situation, and I'm by no means have any concept of how to put together the salary cap, but if they can do that, then yeah, I think that would be a great situation for them. Now, the whole Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll relationship thing is beyond my comprehension because I don't have a male ego, but it's just like, I don't even know what you're talking about, but I do agree, because since it is a thing, that would be one of those things that Pete Carroll would do. I just don't know if they can afford it.
The grass isn't greener on the other side, Russ. Jen.
I was gonna say if I was Russ, I'm mad at the lack of D-line last year and protection and some of those things. It could have been fixed. That defense just made me ill on games. Like having your somebody from the secondary lead your sack count is just unacceptable to me as a D-line coach. Like I found it insulting. Like I would have been going into my room every time like what is like, don't you only go forward? You don't have to go backwards. Like your whole job is that way. Be a dog, get in the backfield. And so it becomes hard when you don't feel like you have the weaponry to, you want Russ to cook, but Russ has to cook like 87 dinners because his defense is not stopping anything. So it becomes hard when you see other people that seem to be getting everything around them. And I don't know if the relationship is one where he wants more input or where that fell apart. But I know for me, I would be saying, where's like, we got to up this whole team because we used to have like the dogs on defense, right? Like we used to dominate, Legion of Boom, set the tone, all that good stuff. And now we're kind of.
Well, I think he's more concerned with the offensive line.
Well,
than he is the defensive line. Although I agree with you completely on the defensive side of the ball. I think what it came down to for Russ, and sort of is coming down to with Aaron Rodgers as well, which is layered, but they're similar situations, is they really want input, and they're seeing someone like Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady have all these pieces and offensive lines and be the face of their franchise and supported to the highest level. And they're like, what's up? Like Russ is on pace to get sacked more than any quarterback in league history. So he has a right to complain a little bit about that. Now, you could argue that, he remixes on plays a lot so that it's hard to block for someone when you don't know where they are, but it's certainly not all on Russ. Like we all watch the same games. There's a reason why he feels like he has to do that, because if he felt comfortable in the pocket, he wouldn't be doing that. Right. I don't think it's Russ's goal to be running around for his life. He'd much rather execute and get the ball out on time. Like that's what all quarterbacks want to do.
Well, he does also have a running component though. So it's not.
He does, but not that way. He wants to run that way.
The lateral, right. But anytime that you're going to keep the handoffs, you are going to get hit more by the defense because they have to keep you honest. I mean, that's just coming from a defensive side of the ball. We're going to play you differently.
Well, it's also more time that your offensive line has to block.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
So if you don't have a great offensive line, then that's going to lead to more sacks. But I think where it fell apart
you need an outstanding offensive line to run that and not have him be dead. Like you need top, because you need guys who can do both things very well, right?
But if you're Seattle, you know that because that's the style of quarterback that you have.
That's exactly.
I think for him, he just felt like, I'm a face of this league, which he is. He's been nothing but a company guy, go Hawks, for years. And he's a superstar, and his wife is a star, and like they're living a different kind of life, and he wants to be respected as such. And quite frankly, he deserves it. Like this is at the end of the day, we're talking about entertainment stars. Like, yes, it's a competition, it's a sport that we all take very seriously. Jen, you being a coach, we're covering it. There's a heart and soul element and physical element to this, obviously, because it's a sport, but it is a television show. That's what we're talking about. Yep. It's an entertainment television show. That's where the money comes from. That's what this is all about at the end of the day. And it is the biggest television show in the world. And because of that, they're superstars, and superstars just operate differently. Like talent just moves differently. You and I live in Los Angeles. This whole city is designed around keeping talent happy. That's just what it is. So, right. And when you think about the power and the influence that NFL quarterbacks have, that's just something that you have to factor in. And I think there's an old school mentality still that exists within not just the NFL, but within sports that, players are just supposed to be part of the team and just supposed to work real hard and grind away. And if we win, we win. If we lose, we just got to work harder. And yes, that is true. But we're also talking about millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars here that you could be taking away from me because you're not putting me on the highest stage, even though I'm giving you all of that hard work and physical element and good PR by supporting the team and good PR by saying go Hawks when things are going bad and all of that. So, I think that that's kind of what happened with Seattle is that Russell didn't feel heard. And it's not hard to make someone feel heard. You don't have to do what Russell Wilson says, but I think you owe him, a coffee.
I think having been in those situations, it is more common than I think people know that the communication and the different elements of the team break down. Like that, you think you're doing all the right things and really the frustrations about you are something you didn't even know to work on, right? It's not that hard to be like, hey, Joy, I'd like your beautiful written Brian Flores, the signature there behind you that you're representing. I would have actually liked that in cursive. And you're like, no, that's how he writes his name. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, right? It's like something that you may have just thought was different. And then all you had to do was talk for 3 minutes as humans and say, hey, this is what it is. And oh, well, I didn't realize that was as simple as it was. Because some of those changes where you have input don't have to be huge, right? But feeling heard and feeling like you have a vested interest. I used to ask my defensive linemen for input on, the stunts that we were going to put in or what the blitzes looked like. Hey, did you run this before? Is there anything else we need to think about? Okay. Just because you might have a perspective from having run it from another team. Hey, we did this, but you got to watch out for this. Oh, good. Yeah, we should make sure the linebackers know. Those things aren't hard, but if you're too much in, your own little bubble of I know everything and I have the answers and I am omnipotent and I use my magic 8-ball to make all my decisions, we're going to have problems.
Well, it's the power of we, not me, right? So if you're a great leader, then it's not all about you. I mean, if you're a leader, by definition, you are leading other people, right? Otherwise, you'd just be doing it yourself. You're not a leader, you're just solo. So it's a team game, and there's hundreds and probably 1,000 people, right, every day, from front office staff to secretaries to the people who clean the locker room to, equipment staff to trainers to everyone, team doctors, PR people, media relations, PR relations staff, social media people, coaches, players. Everything has to work together and everyone has to have one mission and one goal. And if there's a breakdown in communication at any space, it trickles down into whatever's underneath that, which is why I always say that sports organizations, that the foundation is really at the top, right? Like whatever the owner sets as the standard for acceptable behavior, that goes down from there. How the owner handles the GM, how the GM deals with the head coach, how the head coach deals with the quarterback, so on and so forth. How he deals with the other veterans on the team, how the veterans treat the rookies, how the rookies treat the staff. Like it's all one fluid body of work, right? So when there's breakdowns in communication, similar to any other kind of relationship, a marriage, a friendship, parents to kids, employer to employee, there's going to be issues that trickle into everything that you do. And that's why like championship organizations, you generally don't have leaks. If you look at the Patriots have done, they have one way of doing things. It's the Patriot way. It's how we do things. The Spurs, the Warriors in a lot of sense. Like you have a great culture. Everybody knows their job. Everyone knows how to treat everybody. Everyone knows how to communicate. To your point, it's communication. And sometimes it's the smallest thing. Like you said, you are, your roommate. Your roommate keeps leaving something out on the table because she doesn't think that you care and, whatever. She's just been running busy. And you're like, dude, it gives me anxiety that there's clutter in the house. And then you just don't say anything. And then it boils up and you freak out. And she's like, well, why didn't you just tell me? Like, I'll make sure I put it in my room. Problem solved.
Right.
So, communication is really the key to everything moving smoothly, like in life. Look at not to be political, but like when you have bad messaging from the top of anywhere, it trickles down into everything and it causes division. So I'm with you. I think that's something that people really don't pay attention to. It's the psychology of sports. You're a doctor, so you know better than anybody that's those things, those tiny things. Like we were watching The Last Dance last year, right? Yeah. Like so much of it was just bad communication. Like, can you guys just sit down and talk, like use your words, set aside your stupid ego for 5 seconds, which by the way, you coach did not go onto the court and play. You player did not pay everyone else on the team and structure the salary cap. You GM did not coach or play, each hand shakes the other. We all got to work together to make it happen. And the communication is just huge. Yep. It can't be understated.
Yep. And so often the feedback, there are just misses in communication, right? It's not necessarily even a miscommunication, but we missed each other. You said this, I heard this, right? I used to tell the guys on my team when they would fight with their wives that I was a great male to female translator, right?
Yep.
You said this. Well, she heard this. Well, coach, why did she hear that when I said this? Okay, I don't have time to explain that much to you, but do you want me to tell you how to fix it? Yes, please.
Right.
Right? Like, and it can be that simple, right? But what is said and heard are so important, and feelings get hurt when you feel like the intentions aren't aligned.
Yeah. Yeah. And and actions are important too, which is why I think what's happening in Green Bay is so interesting, because you're listening to Aaron Rodgers this past week, and, he's talking about, his play last year messed up some people's timelines. And I'm like, timeline? He won the NFL MVP last year. How is he on a timeline? What timeline? What are you talking about? You have Aaron Rodgers in his prime on your team. What is a timeline? And he's saying that in large part due to the actions of the Green Bay Packers in moving up and drafting Jordan Love last year, who couldn't win the third string job. So it's communication and actions.
Jordan Love, Trubinsky, what else?
Sorry, but Aaron Rodgers wasn't in his prime the last 2 years before the MVP. I think maybe he should send a little basket to Jordan Love or something for getting back to MVP form, because they were in
the NFC Championship game. They were 13-3.
They were 13-3
in the NFC Championship game when they drafted Jordan Love.
Come on.
And Aaron Rodgers didn't play a role in that?
He did. But if you watch Aaron Rodgers, oh, he does. I'm on both sides, but if you watch Aaron Rodgers 2 years ago and you compare him to the guy that we saw this year, it looks like two different players. It looks like 2011 Aaron Rodgers. So I did not like the moves, and I did not like the moves of the Packers this offseason, which kind of transfers into our next conversation of winners and losers this offseason. Okay, we were talking about culture, and Jen and I actually named the Patriots as the winner of this offseason. Packers are probably one of the losers of this offseason. Joy, how do you see it? Who's your winner? Who's your loser?
Yeah, I didn't love the Packers' moves this offseason. I felt like they should have fought harder to keep Corey Linsley. I thought that was a big loss for them, their center. I actually think the Browns are the winner of the offseason. Yeah. I like the Patriots move. I like that they were aggressive. I do think they overpaid, which I really don't believe. I use the air quotes because I don't really believe in overpaying. I feel like it's free agency. You're going to overpay. It's free agency. So like, what is overpaying really in the grand scheme of things? You have to pay for talents, and this is what's available. So I like their moves. I like that they were aggressive, but I think that the Browns did the best job of filling what they needed. They needed some help in the secondary, which they got, and another receiver, because we're not really sure what's going to happen with Odell this year. So I thought the Browns did a great job of filling what they needed, and now they can really kind of focus on getting depth in the draft. So I think the Browns are the winner. I would agree. The Packers, I didn't really like their moves in the offseason.
We also have to chime in with the Buccaneers bringing everyone back after a Super Bowl win. That is unheard of.
Yeah, it's unheard of because of Tom Brady. So, Tom Brady is so affordable and so willing to restructure his contracts all the time that he makes that possible, because otherwise it would just never be possible to do that. I don't know what they're going to do with Antonio Brown, but yeah, it's remarkable that they've been able to bring everybody back.
Yeah, and it means that it also indicates how good the culture is, right? People are all in to win. They are doubling down. They're, you like Sue took less money, right? To stay there. Like that's not his MO, right? He was known as,
he's a mercenary.
Right, as a mercenary. So if you have a mercenary willing to take less money, have mercy, because the rest of the league is in trouble, right? It just is. And then, for the Patriots, for me, it was that they've needed to get talent for a long time, and they finally just actually spent some money, right? Yeah. That is the biggest turnaround. I think they'll be back in contendership. I feel like he's sitting there making evil plans, like Dr. Evil, like, right? Like,
Belichick definitely has a plan. I always felt like he had a plan, but I do think what happened this offseason that's different than any other offseason is they finally kind of started putting the pressure on him about spending some money, and that his draft picks and draft moves at the skill positions have been a disaster. And, we heard the story, I think 2 days ago, that he ignored scouts when he was drafting N'Keal Harry because he knew his coach. And like, okay, Bill, like, come on, like you have a scouting department for a reason. Not that anybody has any exact science to the draft, because we certainly don't, but you got to do a little bit more than that. And so I think it's one that they needed to do it, obviously, but for the first time, I think the pressure from upstairs was like, all right, we're gonna have to spend some money in the off season. We didn't have enough last year. And obviously whatever you've been doing in the draft with these skill positions has been a disaster. So we're going to go out and pay for some people.
Well, and that's it. Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, imagine this roster with this offense with Deebo Samuel instead of N'Keal Harry. That's like Julian Edelman 2.0. So there you go. My question is, do we think the Patriots now, with what they've done, are they contenders now? Are they AFC contenders?
I have to see how Cam Newton looks throughout the season. I'm much higher on Cam Newton than I think a lot of people are. I think another year in the system, I think giving him, some pieces on the offensive side. And they had 8 players opt out last year, so they're going to be back. So that's significant as well, because we're not considering that when we're talking about the off-season move. So, yeah, I mean, I don't ever count out Bill Belichick. Last year I did, because they were trying to pitch me on this whole Jarrett Stidham thing, and I was like, that's nonsense. But they were, talking about being contenders, it's not like they won 2 games last year.
Right.
No.
Right. So like, it's not like they're completely out of it. That division is still very interesting. I have no idea what Tua is. Dolphins fans seem to know. I do not. And we know, the Bills have Josh Allen, but a lot happens throughout the NFL season. So I don't know that they're Super Bowl contenders, but I definitely think they are easily a playoff team. And, you get Bill Belichick in the playoffs, and I'm not counting him out of anything. So I think Cam Newton, another year in the system, not sick with COVID, which I think the COVID thing really just threw a wrench in the middle of the season for them. And he was obviously not well when he came back, which, everyone's not really giving enough attention to. So I think they played well down the stretch. They're going to get a lot of pieces back, a lot more talented roster this year. So I can't give them Super Bowl contender, but I can definitely say if they make the playoffs, it could be a problem for somebody.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm the same about Cam Newton as you are. I think he's somebody who has an upside, a tremendous one. I also think that, the COVID killed him, right? You could see a clear marked difference between before COVID, he was progressing. The team was starting to look, pretty good. Josh McDaniels kind of opened up the playbook a little bit, because now he doesn't have somebody who has to pocket protect on every play. But after that, I mean, Cam, it was like, we talk about, you said what, Edelman 2.0, that was like Cam 0.20, right? Like it was, it was, you take an Adonis and one of the most competitive individuals I've ever met in my life. and a physical specimen, and you put kryptonite around his neck, was all I could say to him. Like it just wasn't Cam. And I think that they know that Cam is on the rise, or they wouldn't have recommitted, right? Like I think they know he's physically back. Although, the BET show coming out, Sip and Smoke, was it, Mitch?
Yes.
That makes me a little bit nervous, because I'd rather see Cam winning the run and score competition, but it's okay. He's multifaceted. He can do both.
I also think we have to consider last year that there was no off season. So this year there's going to be a completely different training, off-season training, OTAs, training camp setup. We've gotten through that part of COVID now. So we have protocols and now vaccines. So they're going to get to actually have a proper training camp preseason leading into the season. And I think that's going to benefit a lot of teams. And these rookie quarterbacks coming in, because the rookie quarterbacks this year did not get that. So I think that's going to be a huge factor for teams this year as well.
Yeah, and Cam was even late to no training camp. He was a late signing. So yeah, absolutely. He was like last minute. He was like, hey, come in from the parking lot. We got a game today. You want to play?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, we got you.
Get a little stretch in, get out there.
Put some WD-40 on those joints. Let's go, buddy.
With the Patriots too, I think obviously the conversation should be centered around Cam Newton. He's the quarterback. He's the guy everybody knows. But when you look at the rest of the roster, they improved their defense a ton. I mean, that defense could be near 2019 form again. The secondary is the best in football for my money, and the offensive line is top 3 in the league. So when you look at what's supporting Cam Newton, it's an elite roster supporting Cam Newton now, not what he had last year. Aaron Rodgers, we talked a little bit about him earlier. He was on Jeopardy. And personally, I don't know, Joy, I don't know what you think, but I personally thought he was boring. I don't know. I thought he was boring, dull. What do you think?
I thought he was great.
Really?
I thought he was great. I watch TV shows. This is going to sound probably elitist, I guess, but this is, it's my business. So I have a hard time watching shows without the lens of production. So when I'm watching a scripted show or a movie, I can just kind of enjoy it because it's not, I'm not an actress, I'm not a director. It's not what I do. But television shows, I know what goes into making them. So if somebody's really bad, sometimes it can be oh, well, they're struggling because this is happening. Or if they're really good, I'm okay, wow, they walked through that really well. I could tell that Aaron Rodgers was really prepared. Doing a show like that on a set like that with that kind of attention and pressure, you really have to study what it is you're doing. You have teleprompter, and then you have lights over here, you have marks you have to hit, you have to talk into this camera, and then the director's telling you got to talk into this camera, so you got to move and keep talking while you're moving to this camera. So there's a lot that goes on into making that show. It's not he's just standing there reading off of cards and telling people that their answers are right or wrong. So I actually thought he was great, and he has the temperament for that show, because you don't want to be too excitable. You got to be sarcastic but not mean. And you have to be very smart also to do that show. I can't do that show. I like watching Jeopardy, but maybe I'll get 2 answers right for the whole show. And I consider myself to be brilliant, but I'm just not I'm not a trivia person. So you have to be kind of smart. I thought he was really good. I thought he had he's very statuesque, and you can tell he's a fan of the show.
The personality.
Well, listen, nobody's going to replace Trebek.
Maybe that's maybe that's just I was missing the flair or something. I thought he was going to be a little bit more flamboyant. I don't know. He was kind of.
That's not really his personality though.
It isn't. Yeah, it isn't.
Maybe we just need to add Terry Tate, office linebacker.
Just
the Aaron Rodgers Jeopardy. Yeah, answers wrong, you totally you get tackled. And then maybe Rodgers would pick it up, because there is nobody more dynamic when escaping a pass rusher, and sometimes he just makes them look foolhardy. So he just needs some D linemen to get him going. And, you know, maybe I'll just go be a fake guest on Jeopardy and I'll just tackle him and then just let somebody else come in as the stunt double. But
turn the pressure up a little bit.
Yeah.
Turn the pressure up a little bit.
I mean, you know, just at least like displace the hair a little bit. The hair was just like, I mean,
I thought he was great. I thought he did a great job. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect, but it's I was impressed because that's not an easy show to do, especially if you're not somebody who's hosted before. Like they're not giving that show for anyone to just host. Right. Like you got to have like a couple decades in the business.
Wouldn't be good on that show.
I don't think so.
His little live commentary.
I don't think so.
We'll say he's not Jeopardy material. He might be in Jeopardy, but he's not Jeopardy material. Very different things. Yeah. What about the fan shade that was thrown in the game?
Oh yeah,
that was pretty stellar.
Oh, about the awesome. Field goal?
Yeah. Who called that? Who wanted to make that, or who wanted to kick the field goal?
Yes, yeah, I think he played that perfectly because that's like that was a really funny moment, and like you can't react too big to that moment, or then that's going to be a story, you know. So I feel like he had to like be really measured. I thought his reaction was really funny. I don't know. I liked him. I thought it was good.
See, I thought the best part was his hair, and Jen disagrees. We were going to talk about my all hair team in the NFL, but we're going to wait for that on YouTube. That's going to be a YouTube exclusive. Okay. So we're going to skip straight to Mitch's Minute, which is a 5-question. We ask every guest. It's basically a rapid fire type question game that we play. Okay.
So I can't think long about it. I just have to answer real quick.
It's Mitch's Minute, but it never goes a minute. Like it's always longer. And Jen, you can chime in as well if you like on some of these answers. So
these ones I don't know either, Joy. So
okay.
Joy, obviously these are made for you. So number 1, a tip to stand out as a host on a undisputed or a herd type show.
You have to genuinely be yourself. Whatever it is that you genuinely do, be that. Don't try and be somebody else that you admire. Don't try and be funny if you're not really funny. And by like not really funny, like a lot of people tell you that you're funny, not just like your boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever. So just genuinely be yourself. If you're funny, be funny. If you're smart, lean into that. You know, whatever it is that you do, just be genuinely yourself, because that's what comes across. That's what cuts through in this business. You can tell people who are trying to be something that they're not very easily, and the audience can tell that. So I think just being yourself, which is hard. Like it's hard to be comfortable being yourself. It's scary because, you know, the world is scary out there. They're gonna let you know what they think about you being yourself. So you got to be confident in that. But I think just leaning into whatever it is you do best.
And you know, I'm going to lean in to what Joy just mentioned, because there is nobody who is more herself than Joy. And if you haven't checked out Maybe I'm Crazy, her podcast, like to me, I love the shows with the guys, but Maybe I'm Crazy is all joy all the time. And I will never forget a particular Maybe I'm Crazy when Joy Taylor approached the pooch.
Oh yeah, that was actually, I didn't do that on Maybe I'm Crazy. I did that on my my YouTube channel. Oh, right. But yeah, that's like, no, it is. I try to kind of be like myself. I don't curse as much as I do in real life on my shows, but you know, I try to be myself, and that makes it's kind of exhausting to try and play a character, you know, when you do this every day. And then you forget what character you're supposed to be too. So yeah, so the pooch is genuinely who I am. This pooch conversation.
The pooch conversation was priceless. I was literally by myself and like laughing. And as she was taking like Twitter comments, she'd be like, nope, not even a thing. Yep, you're out of here. Yep. And no one is better at trolls than Joy Taylor either. Like you should have like a troll trophy, because you are the queen of shutdown of trolls. Like I at times am like, oh, I don't know how I would deal with that. And I like watch Joy do something and I'm like, fire points right there. She just killed a troll. He's dead now. Like, And I love it about you. I think it's one of the things that everybody, if they don't know, you should know, because it's so refreshing to have somebody that's in your life and in your circle who is so 100. Like, I have zero doubt that we could ever have a miscommunication problem, because it would be like, yeah, that's not actually a thing. And we'd be like, oh, great. Can you teach me how you did that? Right? Like, it'd be like the guys with the right hook, like, and oh man, Joy, you really got me here. Can you teach me that, babe? And she'd be like, absolutely. All my girls got to know how to throw punches, right? Like, and that is my insight to Joy Taylor, and probably why I think we met, and it was like Insta.
It was Insta.
We literally hung out later that day. We met at Gina Davis Institute.
Yes, the Gina Davis Institute panel. Well, thank you, babe. I appreciate that. The trolls are, I don't know if you're gonna ask me about trolls, but since you brought it up, trolls to me are, because of everything you just said, like, I just try to keep it 100. And part of who I am is, I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and it's just not like this with blue collar, like no bleep taking place. And, I just prefer to have face-to-face real life conversations about stuff. And I'm an over communicator because I'm an overthinker. And, if somebody says something dumb, and I don't like dumb, like, I don't know why that went or how that became cute to just be stupid. And it's like wild to me. Like, I get upset if I say something that doesn't make sense or isn't accurate, or like if I mispronounce someone's name, or if I have a typo in a tweet, like, that bothers me. And people are just mad dumb and totally okay with it. So when it comes to trolling,
and mad and dumb,
it's right? And like big mad, big dumb, and big unapologetic about it. And so trolls to me, there's, it's layered, and there's a lot of like psychology behind the idea that someone would make a fake account to say mean things to strangers on the internet. Like, I thank God that my life is better than that. But, there is kind of an inherent sadness in what these people do. And when you keep in mind that they would never, and I mean never, say this to your face, never. They would see you and they would either be excited to see you and like want a picture with you or say hi to you, or they would just completely pretend that you didn't exist, so they wouldn't say anything mean to you. When you keep that in mind, I think it helps lower the anxiety and the sting of the mean things they're saying, or dumb things they're saying. Dumb things to me are just like kind of fun. Those are fun because that's easy. That's like fishing in a barrel. But the mean things, I think you have to be more calculated about. But everybody, I can genuinely say it doesn't hurt my spirit what people say, but that's not the same for everybody. So I think you have to handle trolls however it psychologically and spiritually can be managed for you, because everybody's different.
Somebody that has a lot of trolls is Colin Cowherd.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, what is the most epic or wackiest take he has ever had? Because I know he has a lot of them.
I don't even think I was on the show. I think I missed the show, but it was something about like Baker Mayfield was talking about the aliens. Yeah, I was filling in on Speak for Yourself when he did that, because I am a big alien person. Okay. Meaning that I like firmly believe that there are aliens. I'm not like into aliens or something, but like there's definitely aliens. Yeah. Like, we're one planet in a galaxy, in a universe full of galaxies. Like, there's got to be some other life out there. Now, whether they want to come to this dusty planet, I don't know, but there's definitely aliens. So like, I was on that show. Alex Curry was filling in. And then, so he tweeted about Baker and the aliens. And then Tom Brady responded and he was like, how do you know I haven't seen aliens? So that I wasn't even on the show that day. And I was actually upset because they had Neil deGrasse Tyson on the show, who I love. And I was like geeking out from the other side of the studio. But so, yeah, the alien one was wild.
I have an exclusive Baker Mayfield take with the aliens.
Okay.
I think that Baker Mayfield, who I lovingly call Baker the commercial maker, because he has more commercials than any other quarterback and more commercials than wins, frankly, in my book. So Baker the commercial maker actually was calling on ET And because the Browns colors are so Reese's-centric, Baker might be laying out a trail for E.T. to come home to At Home with Baker Mayfield. What do you think about that? What's your take?
There might be something there.
I mean, I think he's definitely working on a new endorsement deal. If Reese's comes through, I'm going to need permission for that one. But that's what I'm saying.
That is a good pivot. That is a good pivot. I didn't think about that. Nothing is real anymore. So yeah, that could be something.
If I was them, I would make it.
You believe in aliens, right?
There's got to be aliens. I mean, some of them, look, some of them seem to walk around
very
like
quiet.
I do. I'm with you. I totally do.
The only explanation for some of the people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis is that they cannot be human and they must be alien.
Cannot be from this planet. Although I don't know. This is like humans are very different. Yeah, there's definitely some other life out there. Again, I don't know if they're coming here for us or if they're just swinging through like, nah, we don't want no parts of that.
That's in the water.
Look,
they got some. Yes, yeah, they might be with Baker.
Is Tua the answer in Miami?
You know, I was literally just dealing with this with Dolphin fans on Twitter today. And I don't even know how it came up. I was talking about Sam Darnold. And then I think somebody was like, oh, well, Sam Darnold can have more time, but Tua can't. And like, it's become this thing where like everyone thinks I hate Tua, which is not true. I think Tua is a wonderful young man. I think he's a great face of a franchise, which I happen to think is important. Not just that you are a good quarterback, but like how you represent the city and how you represent the team and all of that is important. And he's got a great personality. He's electric. There's a reason why they took him there, but he had 2 injuries in college, including a devastating hip injury. I didn't like him in the draft because of that. I don't like when quarterbacks have multiple injuries in college because you're going to get hit harder and it's a longer season. And there's more that goes into your body in the NFL than in college. So if you're having those kind of habitual injuries in college, how's that going to translate to the NFL? And you got a little banged up this year, but nothing serious. But I just didn't see anything spectacular from him in his rookie season in Miami. Now, here's the other part of this, which I don't think the Dolphins fans are considering. One, because everyone's like, oh, like Arizona, and then all this other game. Like, okay, he wasn't horrible. I didn't say he was a bust, but he's going to, no matter what, be compared to his contemporaries. Who are they? Justin Herbert, who just won Rookie of the Year and looks like a 15-year franchise quarterback, and Joe Burrow, who prior to getting hurt was the runaway Rookie of the Year, and looks like he is legit. And I love Joe Burrow going into the draft. I liked Justin Herbert, but I was okay with them picking Tua because I trust the Dolphins front office that they clearly see something in Tua they didn't see in Justin Herbert. The draft is not an exact science, as we've talked about a lot today. So to answer your question in the short version, I don't think so. Because I didn't see anything from Tua this year that was convincing to me that he is going to be able to do this at a high level consistently in the NFL unless everything is perfect. And as we know, nothing is ever perfect in the NFL. And I can't rely on everything has a timing and it's got to be this. And then you get the ball out and then you're going to have a perfect offensive line and a perfectly clean pocket. And none of your receivers are going to be injured and none of your offensive linemen are going to be injured. And you're not going to be banged up. And, you're not going to be in a situation where you got to go win the game. Like, he's an Alabama quarterback. He's been throwing to NFL guys and been behind an NFL offensive line his entire college career, which is one of my critiques of Mac Jones. And I think Tua was better than Mac Jones in college, but I just don't know that I've seen enough that it's going to translate to the NFL. I could be completely wrong, and I will happily come out and say I was wrong. And I'm not even saying that I'm right. I'm just saying I haven't seen enough yet that I think it's egregious to question whether the Dolphins should be considering moving on from him or not. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's going to work. It's not going to work. I'm just saying I'm not sure. And apparently that's a big deal. So I don't know. I also think the Dolphins didn't do him any favors. I hated what they did with Ryan Fitzpatrick and him.
That's what I was.
Let him go out there and play. If he loses, he loses. Yeah. If he blows the game, he blows the game. But you got to find out what you have in him because now you don't. You don't really know what he's going to do in those big moments because you pulled him out for Fitzpatrick, which did nothing. You still missed the playoffs. So what did you accomplish besides crushing his confidence in big spaces and not seeing what he can do in those moments. I thought it was a colossal waste and a mismanagement of his rookie year, but they're sticking with him another year, and we're going to find out.
Yeah, I was traumatized by what they did to him and Ryan Fitzpatrick. First of all, Fitzpatrick was winning. And, you know, the franchise was rallied around him. Now, if you felt pressure to get Tua in because he's a first-round draft pick and you feel face of the franchise, you also want to sell jerseys. I get that from a fan's perspective. From a coach's perspective, I do not and never did, because you have a guy who's working, and the downside of putting into it too early is exactly what you have right now, right? You have crushed confidence and you have question marks all around him. And it used to be that there was a rule of 3 with quarterbacks, right? It used to be accepted knowledge that you had 3 years, that it took 3 years for quarterbacks to adjust to the speed and complexity of the NFL. So they were drafted with, you know, a timeline in mind. And so you had someone who was good. You actually had what could have been an ideal situation to really groom this guy to not just come in and plug in and do okay, but to come in with confidence and crush it. And yet you didn't do that. And you also dismantled what was actually working for Miami. And then you have to go back to it. Now he just looks like a hot mess to me. Like I don't know that he comes back and feels okay.
I didn't hate them pulling Ryan Fitzpatrick because if Tua was healthy, I thought he should have started from week 1. I don't think you learn how to play football from the sidelines. I think you learn how to be a pro from the sidelines. I think you learn the process.
Different. And
the speed is different, but I'm saying you have to experience that. So I didn't mind them pulling Ryan Fitzpatrick when they did, even though they were winning, because they weren't contenders this year. So my problem was, don't pull Ryan Fitzpatrick and put Tua out there if you're then going to pull Tua and put Ryan Fitzpatrick out there. Like, what are you doing? This is stupid. It doesn't make any sense to me. So that part, if you're going to commit, like make a commitment. Playing this like quarterback by committee thing is silliness. So that part I did not like. I didn't mind them putting him out there, but the pulling of him is what didn't make sense to me. But I will say, to your point about the 3-year thing, because everyone keeps bringing up Josh Allen, which I would like to remind everybody that Josh Allen is a physical freak. So, you know, while I did not like Josh Allen his first 2 years, he still had the physical capabilities that Tua does not have. So because I have eyeballs, I can see that. So I don't know what everyone else is watching, but like Tua and Josh Allen are not the same physical human being. They're not. They have different bodies, and Tua's body has been injured on top of it not being as big as Josh Allen. So maybe Tua will become great, maybe, but I don't think he has 3 years. The NFL is different now. I don't think any of these quarterbacks have 3 years. They don't. That 3-year thing is out the window.
Well, but you used to draft him to be a backup. They weren't.
No. I agree with you. I agree with you, but they're not doing that anymore. No. We're a microwave society, and the older guys are playing later. Right. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, they're playing later. Okay, so the careers are stretched out longer, so you can be great for longer, and the new guys are coming in and looking amazing, incredible sooner because they're developing at a younger age. They're in these quarterback camps. They're dealing with next level trainers and experience and film study. They're not coming in raw. So the quarterback position and free agency has created a completely different level of urgency for the quarterback position. So you can't just chill. Buffalo got away with that, and I don't really know how, but they got away with it with Josh Allen. There's not going to be a whole lot of other franchises that are going to let you just be okay for 3 years until they see what they have in you. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think Tua has 2 more years of being whatever he was last year before the Dolphins move on.
No, I think what I see now is that ideally with somebody like him, if he could have had I think not having an off season was part of it too, right?
Yeah.
Which, you know, and not having an off season means you need more time to adjust to the NFL systems, because if you're still robotic, your reads are going to be bad, and every little thing is going to throw you, which is kind of what you said, where I don't know that I trust you. He's not one that I ever really got. Wasn't one of mine. If I'm the Miami Dolphins, he's not my answer. And he's not my answer, you know, he's just not my answer.
Yeah, I know. Dolphins fans are freaking out on me right now, but I'm like, well, we'll see. Guess that's all we can do.
Go buy the jersey.
Drafted
Get it while you have it.
I have one.
So speaking of the Dolphins, obviously your brother, Jason Taylor, who absolutely destroyed my Patriots on numerous occasions. Do you have a memory growing up with him that you would like to share about maybe football related or anything else?
One memory. I don't know if I could pick one thing. You know, I think one of my favorite memories, which he hates,
perfect,
because it's really like it was a rough time for him, but I think it's a story that I think kind of humanizes sports and like the experiences that these guys go through on a personal level. I want to say, what year was it? Damn, I can't remember the year. It was like 2007, maybe. When the Dolphins were about to go 0-16.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? I can't remember what year it was.
It was 07. It was
07?
Yeah.
So they're going to go 0-16. So obviously they're awful. And he's not somebody who handles losing very well. Like nobody likes losing, but guys, everyone handles it differently. Like some people like internalize it and they like want to go party, or some people like internalize it and they just like don't talk to anybody, or like everyone handles it differently. He's very cranky. So he was not fun to be around that year. And it's understandable. And when you are in the support system of someone like that, you have to be aware and sensitive to that's what they're going through. And so it was the last game of the season, or second to last game. I think it was the last game of the season. They're playing the Ravens. And like game is close, and like I'm on the edge of my seat because like they could almost win this game. And sure enough, Cleo Lemon connects with Greg Camarillo. They score a touchdown. They win the game. And it was like the Super Bowl. Like I felt like they won the Super Bowl. I mean, I was crying. I'm like hugging his wife at the time. We're both like hysterical. And it was like just this sense of relief. Like, thank God, like, thank you, God, that he's not going to be on a team that lost every single game of the season. And like, it's just, even though it's such a, like, it's one win, okay, and it's meaningless in the grand scheme of things, but like for them personally, it was such a relief. And I always remember that so vividly because I think it was a moment that, like, you're just so happy for them. And not at the greatest scale, like not, you know, when they made it to the AFC Championship game, which obviously I was very happy for him. And when, you know, anytime they make the playoffs or he'd have some personal achievement, like you're happy for that as well. But, you know, there is a very personal, trying side of sports at the professional level that, you know, a big part of the way I talk about sports is because I saw that. And, you know, as fans, you don't really, not that you don't understand it, but it's different to sympathize and empathize. And so when you know what that experience is, what that can do to a human, it kind of brings you to a different emotional space. So it's not his favorite story, but it's, I was so happy, like genuinely happy that they did not lose every game that season. And I'll never forget that.
Yeah, that's a great story. That's great insight. I appreciate that. I remember that season specifically because it coincided with the Patriots going 16-0. So I remember it specifically.
That's right.
It was weird that both
which made it worse.
Division. Yeah, exactly. Final question on Mitch's Minute. Everybody wants to know the dirt here. So who has the better takes, Skip or Shannon? Everybody wants to know.
That depends on the topic. Okay. You know, I agree with Skip that Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. Now, LeBron is making this very difficult on me because he keeps winning championships. No, I mean, Yeah, it depends on the topic, obviously. Because something that I agree with Skip on very wholeheartedly. And like when the first year, I think it was the first year we did Undisputed, was the year that the Cowboys went 13-3. Right, because that was Dak's rookie season.
16, I think.
Yeah. So that was a rough time for Shannon because I was Skip every day. How about them Cowboys? So it totally depends on the topic, but obviously Skip is a huge Cowboys fan, which working with Skip and Shannon during that time actually kind of made me a big Dak Prescott fan. So I'm glad he got paid. Which he deserved, and they should have paid him earlier, but that's a whole different topic. But yeah, I think the biggest thing obviously is LeBron and Michael with Skip and Shannon. And I gotta go with Skip for now. But one thing about me with takes, I'm similar to Colin in the space where like, I'm not gonna die on a hill I don't believe in. Mm-hmm. So just because I said something before does not mean that that's how I feel now. And I think that's just not even just with sports, but I think in society, like that's something that people label as phony. And I don't get that. Like, so if you went into surgery and your doctor was like, well, I invented this procedure in 1975, and that's how we did it in 1975. And even though it's been updated 400 times and we have state-of-the-art laser materials that won't cut your whole entire stomach open, I'm going to go with the 1975 surgery because that's what I said was great then. You'd be like, no, new doctor, thank you for your time. And I'm also going to report you to the board or whatever you report doctors that are doing malpractice to. Like you change your opinion with updated information, right? You should. That's like what being an adult is. That's like what intelligence is. Like when you get provided new information and facts, you change your opinion. So I'm not going to like die on a hill for something that I said before when I have new information. Now, some stuff is just set in stone, so you better feel how you feel. But like, even like the Tua conversation, like if Tua ends up being great, I'll be like, yeah, I was wrong. Like I like Tua and, not that I'm saying that Tua is not going to be great. I'm just saying I haven't seen enough from him to say that yet. But I'll admit I'm wrong. Like I'm wrong and this is my opinion now. And so, it gets labeled as like they always dig up like old takes and stuff. Or like old videos, like you said this, like, yeah, I said that. Well, I love old takes exposed. I think it's funny. I think it holds us accountable. But like some stuff is like, okay, but we have new information now. So yes, at the time, that's what I meant and felt and thought. Yeah. And now I don't think that anymore. So let's not do that. But yeah, I think everybody has their own approach to their opinions. But with Skip and Shannon, it just totally depends on the topic.
Self-scout yourself.
Skip or Shannon?
You guys can't keep making me pick between Skip and Shannon.
I just want you to pick one.
Jen has her one question here.
Yeah. Best dressed, Skip or Shannon? Who do you agree with on style points? Come on.
I think Shannon has the bigger sneaker collection, although Skip is completely
Jordan
loyal to Jordans. He does have some fresh J's every day, but Shannon has an impressive, as a sneakerhead myself, he has an impressive sneaker collection. Suits, I can go either way. I like Skip's, like, Skip will hit him with the all black Johnny Cash. And then, Shannon will come in with some really nice suits too. So I think it just depends on your preference, I guess. I can go either way on
You're
suits.
Two in the middle. We need
listen, I'm the moderator. I can't pick sides. Can't pick sides.
All right. We won't put you out there for that. But I really like what you said about the, old takes exposed. That was awesome. The Jason Taylor story, incredible. So thank you for joining the show. And Jen, do you want to wrap things up with your friend who you say you always need more joy in your life?
I do. I mean, every single day of my life, I need more joy. She is my joy. She sets the standard for great commentary. I always love her hot takes. I am so glad that her hot takes and her hotness are a part of my life. She is legitimately one of those women for women. Like, she is about it on every level. What you see is what you get with Joy Taylor. And I know you all know her for how she breaks down footage, analyzes sports, but I know her as the person I always want in my corner. So Joy Taylor, you are truly a joy, and I'm so glad that you came on with us. You set the standard for what it looks like every single day.
Thank you, babe. You are so kind. You're such a sweet person, and I miss you. And you always make me feel so nice and loved. So I appreciate you, and thank you guys so much for having me on. Jen, we need drinks soon and dinner.
We do. And remember, Matt Leinert's camp is.
Oh yeah. Please text me and remind me the date.
Yeah, come on out. I'd love to see Joy Taylor on the football field.
Well, I don't know how useful I'm going to be out there, but I'll come make an appearance.
Look, Joy, I can teach anybody football. That is my
yeah. The way my knees are set up, though. But I'm going to support you any way I can, though, babe.
Hey, you got.
I appreciate you guys having me, and Mitch, it was great to meet you as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
So for all our fans out there watching, this is a special edition. More joy on the Juke. Your regular hosts, Dr. Jen Welter and Mitch Mullaney, bringing you jukes and hopefully jokes, depending on how you slide on the scale. Make sure you follow us on all our socials at the Juke Pod, and we're out.